is God in physical form or in non-physical form? That's the first question.
Yes.
What would you expect would be the physical form of God? If we were to imagine that let us want to see God in physical form, what form would you like him to see? Because different cultures have seen God in many forms. The Hindus have believed that God manifests in the nature. He makes a cow a holy cow, gives some sanctity to a cow, gives sanctity to a bull if he's Nandi. Similarly, he gives sanctity to many forms of life. And then it also gives sanctity to people who can give nice discourses on spirituality, gives sanctity to books which describe higher things. Sanctity is given to the Vedas, which Ved Vyas merely compiled for guidance into 4 parts, dealing with spiritual part, economic part, worldly life, customs. He just divided them, but we give great credence to that, we give the sanctity to it. But we don't see God there. Because God, we define. We all define what God is. Nobody has seen him. Let me tell you, my experience, nobody can see God. If one can see God, that is not God. Because then you are separate from God. Nothing is separate from totality, which is the ultimate creator. If the definition of God is the ultimate creative power, nothing is outside of it. None of us. None of the planets, none of these universes, they're all part of God. God is in everything. Therefore, if somebody says, I am seeing God, that means he is separate from God, that is not God. He is incomplete. God is complete. Therefore, no one can see God. What can one do? One can merge in God and become God. That's possible. That's precisely what happens. The spiritual path is meant for that. The highest spiritual path is meant not to see God, but be God. Because you cannot be separated from God. Nothing can be separated. Otherwise, if you want to see God, you can see in each one person here. We are all manifestations of God. Every tree that grows is a manifestation of God. Every living thing is manifestation of God. Every non-living thing is manifestation of God. Every stone, every brick is manifestation of God. We are seeing God in everything. Why is that? Because if the nature of God is totality of consciousness, which is the definition we have given. We can give any definition. People have given different definitions. Supposing we give this definition, which appeals more to a rational mind today, that he is totality of consciousness, that means wherever consciousness exists, God is existing. We as human beings are all conscious beings, therefore we are manifestations of God. 2 types of consciousness is there, active consciousness and passive consciousness. Active consciousness is where you are the perceiver of God's work. You are the perceiver of what God has created around you, other human beings, nature, the planets, the universes. You can see those universes outside of yourself. That's the work of God you are observing from within as what? As soul. Then what is soul? Soul is not separate from God. The separation is only a drama. The separation of soul from the totality is only for experience. It has never been separated. Somebody said, how can you explain that? I took a glass of water. I'm going to explain with this glass of water the separation of soul from God. This glass of water is total glass of water. All water. 1 glass of water. But there are also drops of water in it. How many drops are there? I can make it 1 million drops, small size. I can make it 1 trillion drops, small size. I can keep on making any number of drops in the same glass. I can also make them very few drops, making them bigger. That's precisely the nature of our soul. Soul is not separated from God. It's a drop in God. And this thing bothered me when I was young, because somebody defined to me that we are drops from an ocean. We got lost, separated from the ocean, and now we are roaming around and struggling hard through meditation and spiritual disciplines to go back and merge in the ocean. That's how the spiritual path was described to me. And I thought to myself, if we are drops, little drops, sun shines on us, we are bright, we make rainbows on ourselves, we have a great life, we have a personality. What are they telling? Struggle hard to go and merge in an ocean. Ocean doesn't care for one more drop, we lose everything by merging. Is this the spiritual path? When I was told this is the spiritual path, I said I'll never follow it. But I was wrong. They were wrong too. The truth was that drop never left the ocean. The drop only shrunk its awareness to that of a drop and became several drops in the same total. And the spiritual path is not going anywhere to find something, is to expand your awareness to totality of clubs. That's all. So that is why the soul itself is totality of God, shrunk to the size of an individuation form, and is watching this. It's more appropriate to call the soul as a point of view of God. That's one way of saying it, that you can have a point of view. You can see this stage from this side, from this side, from this side, from the top, from bottom. There are different points of view from where you can see. If you can see it from a trillion points of view, if you can see from unlimited points of view, those points of view are our souls, and the totality which is seeing is God. So that is why the definition of God can be made in many ways, but the best is to actually go to our true home. The true home, which is the home where God resides, and you will find you are never separated from it. The whole drama was created in our true home.